All right, so let's get started. We're just a couple minutes after, and we've got a short session today. So thanks everyone for joining. My name is Stephen Wolf. I'm a director with Myers-Holum. We're a NetSuite alliance partner and a system integrator, and we're joined by Cam Wood from Myers-Holum and Kevin Staples today, and we're going to have a brief conversation about NetSuite, about Myers-Holum, and also just talk through some of the use cases that subscription retailers will use NetSuite for, and we're going to hear that from Kevin, who's currently an enterprise architect at Bark, or formerly known, I think, as Barkbox. So to kick off really quick, let's just do some brief introductions. Again, Stephen Wolf, a director at Myers-Holum. Cam, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, team. My name's Cam. I'm in the sales department here at Myers-Holum, based out of Austin, Texas. I've been within the NetSuite ecosystem for about 3 years now, and I act as really a main liaison between our prospects and folks who are evaluating NetSuite and our greater sales team here. So folks like Steven and other solutions architects to help build out a full-on solution. So it's great to be here and happy to answer any questions along the way.
Awesome. And Kevin?
Sure, yeah. I'm Kevin. I'm the enterprise architect for financial systems at Bark. And in my role, I run our entire NetSuite instance and also connected to a number of other kind of platforms and systems, including warehouses and other kind of fun third parties. So really excited to be here today and talk about NetSuite and how we utilize it.
Awesome. And so before we jump into the specific use case for Bark and I think subscription retail as a whole, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce NetSuite. So NetSuite is an ERP system at its core. It is a financial system and general ledger. The way that most companies leverage NetSuite is holistically for ERP operations across the board. So, commonly the types of companies that we work with, they have a lot of disparate systems in their current state. They're using QuickBooks for Financial, Salesforce CRM. They've got spreadsheets across the board in warehouse, inventory management, and merchandising and reporting. They might be using different sales and marketing tools. They might be integrating with a number of different front-end e-commerce tools. But what NetSuite solves is creating a single unified platform to store a lot of the master data that you would leverage for a end-to-end, from containing your item master, your core general ledger, your design to build process for manufacturing, all of your procurement operations for both inventory procurement and indirect procurement, as well as all of your order management, sales and distribution, and warehousing related operations. So while Bark as well uses a number of different source systems in addition to NetSuite, I think it's safe to say that, like a lot of our other customers that are leveraging NetSuite as our ERP, NetSuite is a kind of the backbone of the organization that sits between a lot of the complementary products and systems as well. So NetSuite does encompass modules, again, like I mentioned, across ERP, sales and marketing, obviously reporting, e-commerce, HR and payroll, and supply chain management. And as we work with companies to implement NetSuite in their organization, it's common also that we roll on these additional modules in phases, what we call a stairway approach for implementation of NetSuite. We implement on a suite success methodology, meaning that we leverage a lot of pre-built processes, best practices, procedures, reports, and dashboards as well. So we do have a suite success approach for retail, distribution, manufacturing, and a lot of other kind of niche areas within the overall products industries like health and beauty and food and beverage. So we leverage those suite success additions that NetSuite offers within these niche industries. It's a starting point for all of our implementations to make a faster time to market. And finally, just what is NetSuite for anybody that doesn't know? Technically, it was the first cloud company. So back when NetSuite came out and started selling, they actually referred to NetSuite as an application delivered over the internet. We didn't really have the term cloud yet when NetSuite first started selling. But in that sense, it was the first of its kind. It got its start right around the same time as Salesforce, and we now have 22,000 active customers globally in the NetSuite ecosystem, and with a growth rate of about 4,500 customers a year. So with that being said, we just want to jump right into the conversation here about BarkBox and their use case. And I think we've got the floor opened up for questions as well. So Cam is going to moderate that, and we're actually going to try to leave at least 5 to 10 minutes on the back end of this for any Q&A for anyone that has it. So Kevin, just starting off the conversation, do you just want to introduce BarkBox and tell the group here on the line what is BarkBox? Just starting with that high level intro.
Sure. Yeah. So BarkBox, right? I think our most well-known product is like is a monthly subscription of toys and treats. That is BarkBox, and that's kind of how the company started, and that's the genesis of the company. But we've really kind of turned it into multi kind of brands and lines of business. So that's where it's like super exciting for us, and one of the reasons that we do love NetSuite is it helps us enable and leverage and run different kinds of business. So our primary business, as mentioned, is a monthly subscription service of toys and treats. That's called BarkBox. We also have another version of that box, which is geared towards heavier chewing dogs. That's called Super Chewer. That same kind of monthly subscription service. And then recently, we've really expanded to a number of different areas as well. We have Bark Retail, which is like we sell directly to big box retailers like Target, PetSmart, Petco. So you'll see our toys in there. And then we additionally have Bark Bright. That is a dental care kind of service, and we do that as a subscription box. And we also do sell that to our big box retailers as well. And then we have Bark Shop. That is more of an e-commerce platform where you can kind of buy some of the best hits of Bark. And then additionally, we have a new business which is launched, I would say, officially nationwide, and actually I'm a subscriber to, called Bark Eats, which is where we send your dog either a monthly or bi-monthly kind of box of pre-made food that kind of they work on with a veterinarian and kind of get the best health aspects, and that kind of really helps simplify and ease your feeding process for your dog. And then we additionally also do sell through, like it's not really a brand, we have a marketplaces team as well. We work to sell through different marketplaces, including Amazon and Walmart.
Awesome. That's so that's a lot of different kind of product lines and sales channels that you have today. And you said everything started from the original subscription box. Is that still the kind of the biggest part of your business today? Do you think that's all these other sales channels you talked about, wholesale, selling to vets, selling direct? It sounds like that all came out of the original subscription. So the subscription is here to stay, I guess. Correct?
Subscription is the core service, biggest driver of revenue, and so yeah, it's definitely here to stay, and it's like the really core of our business. But as we kind of really expand to be like the brand for dogs across kind of all different experiences and kind of working with your dog throughout their entire life.
Right. That's great. So was there I guess your first implementation of NetSuite was for this subscription line of business, and Bark went live on NetSuite well before a lot of the other lines of business like wholesale or direct to veterinarian or marketplace went live. Is that correct? NetSuite was just started.
So NetSuite actually started initially with actually the retail business and working with the subscription business as well. So NetSuite's been kind of, obviously we're always growing and expanding it, but what it's really become core to is obviously it's super core to our inventory management. It's also core to running the wholesale business. It's core to our entire like procurement business, and then it's especially key to our subscription business with how we manage, especially like warehouse operations and how we handle the kitting around putting together your monthly boxes.
Got it. So you're actually creating a bill of materials in NetSuite for each box, and you're actually using NetSuite to drive the compilation of those subscription boxes and the picking and the fulfillment as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, we do NetSuite
Awesome.
for our subscriptions to track all those work orders, and then we also use NetSuite kind of as an e-com platform we have integrations to manage like Amazon, for example, and also to kind of manage our whole entire retail line of business. So NetSuite's really been great for us in that we have obviously a disparate number of ways in which we serve customers, and kind of being able to provide an overall view of all that inventory we have and kind of all the different processes that are happening, and provide one holistic view.
Awesome. And, you know, I think it's interesting to highlight for the group, were there ever any challenges with your item master or your order management process? Did rolling in a new sales channel ever interfere with the previous one? If you could go back to the beginning and you knew that Bark was the company that it is today, and all of the ways that you transact and all of the customers that you sell to, and all the, everywhere you store inventory and all the vendors that you procure from, knowing your state today and maybe even into the future, do you think you would have made any decisions differently about your implementation the first time around, or if you could foresee exactly how far Bark has grown and how diverse in its sales channels have become?
Yeah, I think I think one of the big things, full disclosure, Bark's been on NetSuite for a pretty long time, longer than I've actually been there. But I think one of the big things I always like to think about as I implement and build out new processes is try to think like holistically, in that if we're building a new process of how we communicate, let's say, items to a 3PL, right? We want to just make sure that that process works for kind of at more of a just base business level. So that way it's going to work across multiple business lines. So I think if you can take that mindset with kind of every new aspect of NetSuite you implement, you're going to be kind of better served in the future. And I think the other thing is just be really as judicious as possible about the way you set up your legal entities and your locations, your departments and classes, and kind of having a super strong backbone in those really can kind of set you up for success. And I think sometimes where I've seen things go awry, kind of in my life previous to Bark and also at Bark sometimes, is if you don't have a really strong backbone in your classifications. I think that's one of the big things I try to encourage and work with the team here whenever we're rolling out something new, to make sure we have something very well classified.
Right. No, that's really great advice. And I think it's just interesting to note, right, that a lot of the times when we see businesses, let's say, roll on a wholesale operation on top of their direct consumer line of business, or they start, servicing customers, like, let's say, through third parties, like you are doing through veterinarians today and other ways. We see businesses often choosing point solutions, for each of those new product offerings, or each of those new kind of categories of business or ways that they serve their customers. And I think as a whole, right, you all have been able to maintain NetSuite as the core system, really as your core ERP, even through all this activity that you have, diversifying your product offering and diversifying the way you serve your customers. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think obviously we're always working to improve our instance, make things more accurate, try to incorporate more and more into the way we utilize NetSuite. But for example, I'm working to, as I mentioned, the newer Eats business, we're sending food directly to customers. With that, I'm just working to make sure that kind of fits into our existing NetSuite ecosystem. And like, to go back to an example of items, right? So we have a pretty complex item creation process of like how we create our definite SKUs. And it's like, okay, great. I want to make sure that as we customize NetSuite to make sure we're ready to set up kibble, let's say, right? That we do that within the existing process and becomes a node within the existing process, then it fits into the overall kind of flow. And that way, then it's not, oh God, we're rewriting the wheel for communicating items to the warehouse. No, it goes, oh no, we already have all these fields, we already have this set up. We're just kind of adding a different flavor to it, essentially.
Right. More attributes, more information, et cetera. That's great. Awesome. So I think, we talked about in the title of this webinar, subscription retail, right? And I think that that process of managing subscriptions for physical product obviously has grown a lot, let's say, in the last 5 years. Maybe even in the last, maybe even longer than that. Just across the board, we see a lot of industries switching over to a subscription model. and there's a lot of benefit in that, both for the consumer and the firm as well, right, and the businesses as well that to sell those products. So, but I think there's also a fair amount of complexity in subscription retail, especially when you get into just the way that a lot of order management systems were built. They were built more for one-off orders or ad hoc orders or more traditional models. Also, around the financial aspect, with revenue recognition and managing subscriptions, I know that is a challenge for a lot of companies, especially as they scale. So how do you see NetSuite having fit into tackling some of the challenges around a company that's very oriented around selling products on a subscription, in a direct-to-consumer model, especially? And I mean, what have some of the challenges been, and what kind of work have you done around subscription retail specifically since you've been at Bark?
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is just like really the ease of integration with NetSuite makes a huge difference for us, and that kind of we run a ton of different integrations between kind of both homegrown systems and NetSuite, as well as the third-party systems. So, because for example, for our subscriptions, we have a pretty complex process that's pretty homegrown around like how we go ahead and assign folks boxes and say, okay, we want to make sure that like you're getting a unique box each month that like meets attributes like, oh, this dog doesn't like chicken, this person wants toy only. So I think really the big thing there is just like being able to really establish and have NetSuite be so simple and easy to integrate with, so we can go ahead and realize that like, okay, fantastic. We have very clear pathways of like how orders are communicated, how shipments are communicated, and then we just kind of use NetSuite to kind of be our central source of truth there. And just whether it's, sometimes we have to ingest data after the fact, but if we're ever ingesting data after the fact, we make sure we do it day of as best as possible. Or we're basically setting up ourselves to kind of always have NetSuite generating as close as possible real-time numbers.
Right. Great. So your platform, the Bark e-commerce front end, that's part of your product, right? That's part of your offering. You're giving customers an experience and allowing them to customize their own boxes, their own subscriptions. So there's still that element of, I think, right, surprise in each box, but you're not going to, you're also going to make sure that everything that's in the box is relevant to their canine, right? And so what you're saying is, a lot of you've created a really kind of personalized subscription or product offering for your customers on the front end, and what you have NetSuite it sounds like NetSuite's taking the role of receiving what that box is going to be, what the components are, and then communicating it down to your warehouse to go pick and fulfill and organize all of that, the fulfillment operations, right? And then that gets posted back into NetSuite and maybe actualized to the customer with a fulfillment message. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a little more, it depends on the line of business for us. There is some like existing processes where the front end communicates directly to the warehouse for orders, but NetSuite is always centrally involved in that process. And like we never can get away from it, because obviously NetSuite is our key inventory management tool, and our NetSuite runs exclusively the entire, like I would call it like from procurement to manufacturing to generating the kits. So NetSuite's kind of always central in there. And that's why it's so central to our business to be able to kind of have that visibility of like, okay, if we sent down a work order to build kits, how many kits have been built? And that's kind of what we're looking to use NetSuite for, to fully understand that. And then also be able to get a deep dive. One of the things we're working on and potentially exploring using lot numbers and things like that. And NetSuite has the ability to kind of grow with us. And as we want to kind of expand more and kind of get some more details around certain things, to like be able to say like, oh, we want to make sure we don't have any kits that have expired treats. That's what we're going to go to NetSuite for, and that's going to be great for us.
Right. Awesome. And so just a couple more questions here, and I'm going to open up the floor to start answering questions from the group in about 4 minutes. So if anyone wants to sneak in any additional questions before then, just feel free. And you can do that right in the Zoom app. So we talked a lot about inventory and fulfillment, and interesting to hear how how you're accomplishing that. What about revenue recognition? Because I know that's a really hot topic for subscription retail. How have you accomplished rev rec in the past? And do you have any plans for augmenting that in the future?
Yeah, so right now we do use some third parties outside of NetSuite for some of the subscription revenue, just because that's like existed before NetSuite existed. But we do utilize NetSuite's RevRec exclusively for our wholesale and more of our e-commerce businesses. And then we're also looking out for, like, as we build out newer businesses, we're going to look to bring everything directly into NetSuite. I think our ultimate goal is like this Eats business, right, where we're sending food directly to customers, and that's obviously a subscription. We're going to look to run that revenue directly through NetSuite, and that's our plan. I think it's got the ability to do that, especially with kind of our integrations from a front end back into NetSuite about like order details. We would run revenue recognition. I think there's some complexities and historicalness to the existing subscription business that would make running revenue through NetSuite, as we are right now, a little challenging, but obviously not throwing away the possibility in the future.
Awesome. So you would be using NetSuite's advanced revenue management in the future to defer revenue for customers that pay upfront for multi-month subscriptions, and then to recognize that as their products are fulfilled to them. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do
effectively.
We'd be looking to effectively do that, and we already do obviously use NetSuite's ARM functionality for both our retail line of business. We run, and then also we utilize it for our kind of marketplaces, like when we sell on Amazon and stuff. We utilize NetSuite's revenue recognition as well.
Awesome, great to hear. So I guess one other question from my end, is, Bark again got started as a subscriptions focused company. Do you think that's always going to be the case? Is Bark now going to kind of double down on the subscription model, or do you see Bark becoming just more of a brand for pets across the board? And I mean, where do you see Bark in a few years, especially with the coming IPO?
Yeah, so I think it's obviously like not still any public information here, anything that's private. Yeah, Bark is going public via SPAC, so we're very excited about that. We should be listed on the stock exchange in the coming months. So we're very excited about that here. I think kind of my understanding of the long-term goals is we are kind of just really becoming a brand for dogs, right? We want to be the brand that services all areas of dogs' lives, like making sure we started out with toys and treats. We're now moving into like nutrition with their food. We also have more of a wellness line with like Bark Bright about dental care. We also have kind of a few other brands as well. So I think that like overall, I think we want to really be a company that kind of works with you and your dog at all stages of their life and kind of meets their various needs. But I think we'll always have that core focus on the subscription piece, because I think we've discovered that we've kind of really unlocked that, and that's been super successful and enabled us to grow.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of amazing to watch a lot of our clients that are in the subscription retail space and the growth rates that they seem to have. And I think it's really proving that that subscription model for, I think everyone knows they've got tons of subscriptions for between Netflix and kind of all the SaaS that they use in their day-to-day and entertainment across the board. We've seen just kind of the full conversion to subscription there across streaming and I think other services. But it's really interesting to hear that subscriptions have also been really sticky for Bark, right? And you guys are kind of, sounds like you're doubling down on that. And it hasn't been much of a, it's not just an entry point into competing with the legacy pet brands. It sounds like Bark is really going to continue to be positioned there. And I think it's just interesting to see all of our other subscription retail companies, I think, in keeping with that same approach and growing their subscriber base and kind of doubling down on that as well. So and it's great to hear that NetSuite continues to be the platform that helps you guys fulfill that. So.
Yeah, and as an example, we really like, for example, I've mentioned this food business a few times, but like I'm one of the first customers on it. One, because I love one of our co-founders who started this business. She's awesome. And two, it's actually, we had, my partner and I, we adopted a puppy over quarantine. She's gratefully sleeping right now because I gave her a chew stick to enjoy. But it's really been actually easier for us to use subscription food because we get a box now every, like, I think it's 15 days or it's every month. It's our preference, basically, is my understanding. And we just go ahead each day. We pour her half the bag in the morning, half the bag at night. And we know this food's kind of been certified by a veterinarian. We can always update her food plan, and for us, it's also price comparable to buying the bags off Amazon. And we have a much more personalized, fun experience. So I really like it. And I think it's cool to see us kind of taking our subscription model and moving into a new line of business and kind of continuing that experience with your dog.
Awesome. It's really interesting to hear. And I think, we're happy to Kevin, to continue working with you as a partner going forward and helping you to continue to build out all of the great stuff that Bark offers. So I think with that being said, I'll just, Kevin, ask one more question. How has the overall experience been with Myers-Holum? And I know you're continuing to work with us kind of on an ongoing basis as well. I think talking about us and partners in general in the ecosystem, do you think Bark will continue to leverage NetSuite in its long-term plans, through any potential IPO or growth as well? Do you see kind of NetSuite and sticking in for the long haul?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think otherwise I'll be out of a job. No, but no, I definitely, we're sticking with NetSuite for the long run. We've really enjoyed working with Myers-Holum. I don't have an in-house dev team right now, and so it's really made a big difference working with kind of the development resource at Myers-Holum, but also obviously it's always nice too to have a second set of eyes from more of a functional perspective, providing some advice and kind of making sure that we're always on the kind of best path forward as we kind of build out new businesses and new processes.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We're excited to hear it. So for everyone joining in, thank you so much. If you want to reach out to Kevin or myself, if you have any questions about NetSuite or specifically the subscription use case, always feel free just to shoot over an email or a message to Cam, Kevin, or myself, or any one of us, and we'll be happy to provide you any advice or guidance that we can. It's been, Kevin, great talking to you today. Cam, you as well. And we hope to have the opportunity to speak with everyone here on the call and work with you all maybe in the future. So thanks again, and have a great week, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, everybody.